everyone, it's Heather. I'm doing a follow-up video to my marker video, my cheap marker video that I did the other day because I've had a time to play with some of these gorgeous markers. Now, this is going to call for a bit of honesty. When I first opened them and started to play with them, I sort of had a little bit of regret because some of them didn't work as I expected them to. Now, the watercolour side of things was absolutely brilliant, and I'm actually going to say, yes, you know what, if you like to buy a colour range in one go, then these are great. But the ones that I bought that had the glitter side, I wouldn't recommend getting those, because the glittery side, the metallic side of the marker, there were a couple that were dried up, and the colour was actually very, very similar in every single marker that I used. And also opening the tops of them, they were a bit of a nightmare, to be honest with you. Oh, please excuse me, my dog is outside and he's barking. I think the bin cleaner is around, so there will be a bit of barking, so apologies for that. But yes, so the ones with the metallic side, I wouldn't necessarily recommend those. They're still good markers. The brush side is lovely, very juicy, and the colours are super, and it does mean that you get a few different colours. But to be honest, I wouldn't recommend getting those, because even though they're relatively inexpensive, they're just not worth it for the metallic side, and they're just so difficult to open. If you had any dexterity issues, I think they would be really difficult. So I was even tempted to send those back, to be honest with you, because I bought 3 packs, and for £7.50 I could get another pack of the normal markers, and they would be used a lot more. So I might even take them back, because I didn't really use them. It was just a case of just a quick test to see if they worked, and some of the metallics didn't. Anyway, I'm waffling on. So I did have a bit of a play, and I used them with water. So I did a watercolour effect. Now, they do move very nicely when you add water, but I noticed that the trick was, don't lay them down, leave them down for a long period of time, because if you lay them all down and then go back in with your water after they've all had a chance to dry, I found it a lot harder to move the water around. And I got harsh lines. So the trick I found was to lay down the colour with the brush, and then go straight in with the water straight away. And I found that I got some really lovely effects that way. So I was quite pleased with the way they worked. The other slightly disappointing thing is, because they're brush markers, I was expecting them to be a little bit like a paintbrush, really soft, and they're not. They're very juicy, but they're not. They don't act like a paintbrush. They do act like a pen. For me, I still found it quite difficult to make very fine lines when I was using them. So for the brush aspect of it, yes, they do lay down the colour nice and quickly and easily, but I wouldn't say they were like brushes, like a watercolour brush. You're much better getting a decent quality brush and using that instead of just laying down the colour very quickly, and then just using a really good quality brush to move the watercolour around with water. So I hope that makes sense. But I really like them. I like the fact that you got all the colours to sort of blend nicely, and you got some colours that went really nicely together. So you get 10 in a pack, and they were £6 for 10, and that's actually quite good value, because they're very juicy, the ones that didn't have the metallic. So not a bad price at all. So B&M bargains, yes, that was really nice. I was taken in by the packaging. I really like them. I would buy them again. We are actually going to go back and get some for my daughter's friend, so we are actually going to get them. But after I've been playing with these, I've actually got another recommendation, because after I realised that watercolour brush markers worked really well for moving as watercolour, almost like an alternative to watercolour paint, but I wasn't overly impressed with the brush side of it. I thought, well, you know what, I've got some watercolour pens anyway. I used to teach. I've done a few kids classes in the past, and I've got kids, and I thought, you know what, we've got kids felt tips markers in the house. So I went on a bit of a rummage, and I found various markers. Now, these ones are just inexpensive ones that actually a friend bought me. You get them in a large box, and you get multiple multiples of the same colour, so it's like a classroom pack, and these were absolutely brilliant. They worked really nicely. But the major surprise for me, and they're really inexpensive, these are a couple swatches that I did with these, are these Crayola Super Tips. I was astounded by how fantastic they worked with water, and I think that's the swatch I did with those. But I was just playing around this morning and I found that these were absolutely brilliant. And you know the fantastic thing about this, I'm just going to see if you can see this, because I can't actually see what I'm filming because I've got a different setup. I'm just going to push these hopefully into view so you can see. You get all of these colours in a pack. You get them in a pack of 50 or a pack of 100. I don't have the pack of 100. I don't know whether this came in a gift pack or whatever. But these ones, these Crayola Super Tips, I've got 45, and I know that on Amazon at the moment you can get a pack of 50 different colours and they are about £12. So you get all of these colours. Now I separated them out into sort of colour groupings, so you can see that you can still, because you've got the pack of 50, I assume that you'd get all of these in a pack of 50. You can easily get similar colours to these, which would be £6, but you get lots of variation in these. So there's enough for you to sort of pull out the colour groupings and get a good selection of colours. So I hope that's making sense to you, but I thought these were astounding value and actually worked exceptionally well. So this was just a little bit of a doodle I was doing this morning while my husband was getting ready to go out, because he's gone to the coast today for a bit of a day trip. And I'm here because my eldest daughter's working today, so I'm going to pick her up. So I was just having a bit of a doodle, but these laid down colour so beautifully, and they moved beautifully with the water using this little brush. And because you don't really need the brush, you just need to sort of scribble down a little bit of colour. I'll show you the tip on these. You can use either the fine end or the edge. So I'll just do a very quick, so you can either have a very fine line or you can lay down more colour using the edge. And then they move, I'm going to have to open my jar here, move beautifully with the water, because you don't really need a brush tip if you've actually got a normal watercolour paintbrush. And I found that I could go back in with a marker, and I used the cap of my water container just to scribble a little bit of the marker juice in there, and then I could go back in with a fine brush and just add a bit more detail if I wanted to. So while I'm sure none of these markers are going to replace my rather expensive set of watercolours, my Schmincke or my Winsor & Newton, just for a bit of playing, or maybe nipping out in the car to do a bit of plein air sketching, or just playing when I want to do something quick, it saves me getting out all the paints. And they're cheap. They'd be great for using in sort of the thicker paper watercolouring books. So that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to play with in a few minutes. So I thought I'd show you that. I'm just so bowled over by the fact that these cheap water-based markers work so beautifully. Now this is only inexpensive paper, and I've had way too much water there, you can see. So they probably work even better on decent watercolour paper if you wanted to use that. But just for a bit of fun, just playing and moving a bit of colour around, a bit of experimentation, I think they're absolutely fantastic. So I'm really, really pleased. Definitely would not recommend the ones with the metallic marker on the side. Those ones from B&M Bargains, they were not pleased with those at all. I definitely use the water-based marker side, but I just think you can get all those colours. I'm fairly sure you can probably get those colours in this type of set. So yes, I would go for these. Not if you want it because you think the brush is going to be like a watercolour brush, because it's not. But if you want to just have a bit of a play, the colours are nice, they come in nice groupings, they're relatively inexpensive, £6 for 10. But if you want a total bargain and you just want to play around, then my recommendation would be try all your kids' watercolour pens. Definitely Crayola Super Tips, because they are cheap, cheerful, and you can just have a bit of a play. So, you know, what more would you want? It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to have a bit of a play now. Sorry for all the waffling, and I hope you're all having a good time, enjoying it's half term here in the UK at the moment in our region. So I hope you're having a great day, whatever you're doing, and enjoy some crafty fun, and I shall see you in the next video. So take care. Thanks for joining me. Bye.